2022 Memorial Van Dam Brussels Diamond League meet is in the books. What a freaking meet. I hope you were entertained, people. Track and field fans across the globe, thanks for joining us. This is Robert Johnson, Let's Run co-founder. You can't see me right now. We're having a little technical difficulties. But you can see the beautiful faces of Jonathan Galt and Weldon Johnson. We'll be breaking it down for you. What a meet. Alison Dos Santos almost was beaten, but remains undefeated. Mondo Duplantis was beaten. Grant MFer Fisher, yet another American record, 12:46.96. He wasn't content with just getting the American record. He wanted the win, but Jacob Kropp wins it in 12:45. What a race. We'll break that race down for you. And if seeing a Western athlete battle for the win in the Diamond League didn't shock you in the men's 5,000, it should have shocked you in the women's 5,000. Ireland's Sarah, John, how do you say her last name?
McGeehan, 1,500 meters, not the 5,000. But yeah, that was a shocker, Robert. 356.
She's never broken 4. She's running up there. I'm like, what pace are they on? 356 for the win. And then the reason why you can't see me, I act like it was technical difficulties, but I'm afraid that Jakob Ingebrigtsen is watching this show, and I don't want him to associate what I'm about to say. You know, he recognized me in Eugene. He's like, you've got some crazy takes. Now he might not realize it's me. He'll just hear this voice. Men's 800, Jake Whiteman. That should have put a shiver down Jacob Ingebrigtsen's spine. Jake Whiteman takes down Emmanuel Career. World champion 1,500, world champion 800 at 800. Whiteman wins it 143.65. That to me was huge. What does that mean for that event moving forward? How can Ingebrigtsen beat him? He's going to have to drop him early with that type of speed. What a meet. I'm sure some other things happen, but what do you guys want to think of that?
Yeah, I feel like I need to hose myself off or something. I'm just covered in track and field goodness from 2 hours of elite performances, shocking upsets. I mean, did we mention the fact that Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price and Mondo Duplantis both were beaten in a Diamond League meet? How the hell did that happen? Just phenomenal stuff. I don't even know where to begin. I think probably given our listenership, it has to be the Grant Fisher American record, Grant Fisher near victory in the 5,000. But that is what we love about the Diamond League. That's why it can be so great, is you get the stars showing up, you get great performances, you get surprise results. This was the Diamond League meet of the year for me.
Yeah, by the way, John, I did not mention the women's 100. I knew that there was another event and a win streak, and I just completely forgot about it with the end of the meet distance action. But yeah, Shericka Jackson 1073, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price 1074. I didn't even know until now what Sha'Carri Richardson ran. I was obsessed with her before this meet. She did run. She did finish 5th place, 1093.
Yeah, performance of the night, obviously Grant Fisher.
What about the guy who beat him?
I don't like performances of the night being a second place. Okay, I hate it. As we were commenting amongst ourselves, they should invalidate the American record. He did not win the race. National records for major countries should only be allowed if you win the race. So Ireland, well done. You get your record. You won the 1,500. Grant, invalidated. No, not really, but I hate it when a guy gets like 5th or 6th and gets the record. And for me, this race delivered in so many levels, because not only did Grant get the record, and we now have super shoes, so it's a little bit different. I mean, who knows what these guys would run back in the day. Now, pacing lights. I think pacing lights could be just as big of a factor in this as the shoes. I mean, just the pacing now is perfect. But to contend for the win the whole way, to be up there on the pace, not afraid to challenge, to do it. You know, he tripped on the rail at Worlds. And so I think this is some redemption for him. I just love seeing it, because I want to see fast American distance runners, obviously, but I want to see competitive distance runners. If you're breaking records and a non-factor in the world stage, it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, well, I'm going to let Noah Nyen know that his 3:43 Kenyan mile record no longer counts in the eyes of Let'sRun.com because he didn't win the race when he ran that time. So I can let him know, or you can let him know, either way. But yeah, no, this was terrific to see Fisher battling for the win. It was nice because at the bell, I just knew, all right, the American record, it's done. We know he's going to get that. He's going to break it by a lot. Now I can just focus. I don't need to be watching the clock to see if he gets the time. I can just focus if he beats Krop. And my goodness, did Jacob Krop look smooth in this race? I mean, usually when it comes down to one guy on another guy's shoulder at the bell, and one of them's been leading for 4 laps, just pushing the pace. He was running 61, 61, 61, and then closes in 57. You're thinking, all right, the second place guy is just going to peel by him. This is how it goes. No, Jacob Krop, so smooth, so strong. It didn't even look like he was started sprinting or anything last 100. He just sort of widens out his stride and pulls away. So that was a really beautiful piece of running by him. And we forgot, here's the key ingredient, okay? You want to run fast. You want a 5K in the 12:40s. You want to run a personal best. Get Yumif Kajelcha on that start line, because this guy is the key ingredient. After 3K, when the rabbit drops off, he will go to the front. He'll push the pace for you for a few laps. He did it back in 2018 when we saw Solomon Barrega run 12:43 in Brussels. He did it back earlier this year in Rome, where we saw Krop and Nicholas Kipkoria run 12:46, 12:47. And he did it again tonight. Now, Krop took over with just over a mile to go, and he really did sort of the hard yards, as they might say on the broadcast. But Kajelcha, that's what you need. You need one of those guys to be willing to sacrifice his race. Kajelcha dropped out of this race. That's how hard he pushed in the middle stages. You need someone to be able to say, hey, I don't care if I don't win or if I don't even finish in the top 5. I'm going to make this hard. And that's what he did tonight. So he deserves credit. Krop obviously deserves credit for pushing the pace and winning, but that's why we saw this slew of times. I mean, look at the results here. Krop PB, Grant Fisher PB, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all run personal best. 9 of the top 10, including Stuart McSwain gets under 13 minutes for the first time ever. Luis Grijalva, big PB, 13:02. And Andreas Almgren of Sweden goes from 13:29 to 13:01. So just a slew of huge PBs. And then the guy who won a week ago in Lausanne, in Monaco 2 weeks ago, Thierry Ndiku Mwenayo, distant 11th place, 13:10. So I don't really know what to make of this event. All I know is that race was awesome.
John, you talked about Kajelcha. I mean, for those of you listening on the Supporters Club podcast, you're not seeing the screen. I showed a screenshot. He was up there with 10:49. How do you drop it? You can't even make it 2.5 more minutes? No, 2 more minutes. That's with 2 laps to go. And you sort of forget about things, because with this screenshot, there's a slight gap there between Branson, like 3rd. Let me put it back up there. Yeah, there's the first 2 guys, and there's like a 3-meter gap, probably 5-meter gap to Grant in 3rd and Kajelcha in 4th. And I think that's probably the pivotal moment in the race for Grant. He still probably might break the record. Oh, I don't know, actually, John. Oh, yeah. Kipkoria still ran 12:50 in 3rd. I mean, 4th place, 12:52. So he still would have gotten the record if he fell off there. But contending for the win, making it even more exciting, here's the time. Like, Kajelcha starts fading back. Is he going to go around him, or is he going to play it safe? He went around him, got back up on the lead, and that's when I thought, oh, my God, he might pull this off.
Yeah, there were 2 key points there. Right around 800, that gap between 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, he showed some run. And then a lap later with 500 meters to go, the second placer falls off. Fisher goes right around him. Then I got kind of excited. I was like, wow, could he possibly win this? And I was thinking, as the race is going on, if he wins this, is this the greatest distance season for an American in the professional era? And maybe you can quibble with Bernard Lagat. Let's call that a mid-distance season for him, or I can't say American-born season, because Fisher was, of course, famously born in Canada. Maybe non-African-born season. But were you guys John doesn't root, I know, because he's a professional journalist. I do root. Were you rooting for Fisher? I had mixed emotions for this. I was glad that he was going for it, and I was like, wow, this is what he needs to do, is really put himself in it. Kudos, like A+ for the effort. But I was like, part of me was like, no, man, I don't want you to win this. I may have to take my American card away from me because I was like, this Crop guy's done all the work. He deserves it, and led the entire final 1,700 meters. And it looked like one guy was jogging though, and one guy's car engine was maxed out. Like super run for Grant, but justice was served at the end of this one. Like Crop deserved that when you lead for 1,700 meters in a 12:45 race. So somebody who also looked incredibly smooth earlier in this one was Grijalva. I can't believe he ran 13:02 because you can barely see these guys in the screen. He was up there. Major props to him though. Early on, it's a couple rabbits, and then it's like Fisher and Grijalva, and then Fisher. I'm like, wow, he's going for it, and he looks so smooth. And I was thinking, literally, again in my head during the race, what if it ends up that Luis Grijalva is the best distance runner on the planet? This is going to blow my mind as to what's possible. Because you know me, guys, I'm always into the East African genetics. Thankfully, at the end of this race, my East African genetics got up to the top, but it was a little bit nerve-wracking there for a little bit. But Stewie McShane, 12:56.50, John, you're the genius. What is the Aussie record? That's got to be pretty damn close to it.
Oh, he ran 12:56. I didn't even realize that. I'm pretty sure the Aussie record is 12:55 by Craig Mottram. So they said 12:58 on the broadcast, so it had me a little screwed up. By the way, those of you watching the broadcast on Peacock, which I'm sure is most of the people tuned in to the podcast right now, did you catch the Let'sRun.com shout out? They didn't say it specifically, but with about 500 meters to go in one of the greatest races of Grant Fisher's life, the international feed is always going to document that there was a lot of message board chatter about what he could do this week in Brussels. One of those threads I started, there was another prediction thread, maybe prediction of the year on Let'sRun.com. I think they said that Grant Fisher was going to run 12:46.79. And his final time was, okay. Michigan runner 55. Brussels 5K is being paced for 12:45. I predict Fisher will run 12:46.79. What does everyone else think? Now, it wasn't exactly 0.79, but it was 0.96. I think Michigan runner 55 deserves to take a victory lap, a Rojo-sized victory lap on the message board this week.
Well, John, remember when you deduct 0.24 for the hand time to the automatic time conversion, it's even closer. But incredible race. But looking big picture wise, can we just still admit it's going to be hard for this guy to medal?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the results today. It's the 5,000. The best guy in the world in this event was not running this race, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, the world champion. And then you look at all the other people in this race. You run this race 2 weeks ago, you get a totally different order. Ndiko Mwenayo from Burundi, again, smoked all these guys in Monaco. Now, granted, that was a little different because they went out super fast. A few people died. A few people were hanging back. But different style of race. But he was 11th today, okay? Krop was the silver medalist at Worlds. He wins it. Then you've got Lobalu from South Sudan. He won a few weeks ago in Stockholm. Oscar Chelimo was third at Worlds, but he's only seventh in this place. Grijalva was fourth at Worlds, but ninth in this race. And Fisher was sixth, and he finishes second. You can shake all those guys up. It's probably a totally different order. There's a lot of depth, and you need it all. You need to be in super good shape and for it to come together on the day. It did not come together for Grant Fisher on the day at the World Championships. I think, given that we still have Worlds to come in 2023 and 2025 with an Olympics in between, if Fisher gets to the start line of all those races healthy and fit, he'll get at least one medal. But it's not easy. Unless you're an Ingebrigtsen level talent where you're just clearly the best guy, it's never going to be easy to pick up these medals.
Well, I think right now, well, it would have been interesting. Jakob, I wanted to see you run a fast 5,000 this year. You never broke 13. What would he would have done in this race? But I think in general, look, he and Krop, they deserve to be considered number uno and number dos in the 5,000 for this year. I was glad that.
Well, Krop was only third at Commonwealths. Just remember that. I think this with his Worlds performance, super impressive, but it's going to be a hell of a job ranking them at the end of the year because he lost to Jacob Caplemo and he lost to who was the other guy he lost to at the Commonwealths? I'm just looking it up 1 second. The silver medalist in that race was Nicholas Kipkorea. So it's tough.
No, it's not tough. He's got to be number 2 or number 1. Ingebrigtsen may not have enough performances to be number 1 by track and field news standards. So you get silver. You want a world lead, and you get the silver at Worlds. You're number 2. So, but John, who was the guy that cited us on the broadcast? That was
Chris Dennis.
I'm glad he brought it up because I was a little disappointed in my boy Tim Hitchings. Johnny, isn't he a Brighton fan like yourself in the English Premier League? He clearly hadn't been to Let's Run in a while because he made a rare mistake on there. He was like, Grant Fisher's, wow, he's up here. He's only got a 13. Oh, he's never broken 13. And that drives me nuts. They have these stat sheets, and clearly they list their outdoor PRs only. A PR should be listed as indoor, outdoor. Nobody cares if they didn't run it outdoors. Like, I mean, yeah, if it's wind aided, note that. But like, I was like, wow, he clearly hasn't been on Let's Run in a while. So I was a little down in the dumps. I was like, maybe we should switch to becoming a sprint site, John. I mean, by the way, thanks to the Google algorithms, our article on Sha'Carri Richardson, Win in Lucerne is probably going to be the most read article of Let's Run this year. But no, thankfully at the end, now we're vindicated.
Well, apologies to Tim Hutchings because that's his name, not Tim Hitchings. So respect is a two-way street. But a couple other things on Fisher before we move on to the rest of an incredible meet. I want to go there. The thread from 2015, the infamous Let's Run thread. Grant Fisher isn't even the best high school athlete from the state of Michigan this year. And they were referring to Donovan Brazier. And for a long time, it looked like that poster was a genius because Donovan Brazier is breaking American records left and right. He's the world champion in the 800 in 2019. But, you know, I wasn't totally ready to concede that Brazier was going to have a better career when it's all said and done than Grant Fisher. I don't think Grant Fisher will ever win the Olympics or World Championships. I think he's maybe has a chance to do it, but it's just very, very hard, as we said earlier. But do you think he can still have a better career than Donovan Brazier, given what he's done at just a variety of distances? He's got the 5,000, 10,000, 3,000 American records outdoors this year. He was 4th and 6th at Worlds. He's an Olympian, which Donovan Brazier cannot say. Do we think that Grant Fisher can have a better career? And if you had to judge them right now, are you still going Brazier 1, Fisher 2?
Yes, I'm going Brazier 1. He's a world champion. But I don't know. If at some point, right, the longevity of the career, the multitude of stuff matters, but a world championship medal, gold medal, it's going to be hard to beat. But it's different stuff, mid-D. If Brazier's hurt the rest of his career and doesn't do anything, and Fisher goes on and he's sort of like Galen Rupp, minus the medals, would you then put him above Brazier? Probably not.
I think I would.
Of course you would. I think it's close right now, their careers, despite the world title. He had that one great year, right, for Brazier?
Well, yeah, 2019, he had the great year. He won a U.S. title in 2017, but he's made one global final in the 800 meters, and he won it in a championship record. I mean, it was a great, great season. He had the misfortune, really, one of his best years was 2020 when he ran 143 in Monaco. I think if there was an Olympics that year, he probably would have run it, and he hasn't been healthy since then. So it's unfortunate one of his years got taken away from COVID, basically.
But we got to give credit to my source that's never wrong, because to recognize Donovan Brazier's talent when Brazier was in high school, when Fisher was getting all the accolades, was impressive. All right, guys, I'm going to try to restart my computer. Hopefully you can see my face in a little bit. I'll let you guys keep going. Oh, but can you guys please, everyone was setting PRs in this race, except for the other Americans in this race. So please talk about that, because the gap, how in the hell did Fisher even lose to Woody Kincaid this year? I don't know how that's possible, but not Woody Kincaid, excuse me, Joe Klecker.
How did he lose to Joe Klecker? He made a strategic error. He was way stronger than Joe Klecker and he let it come down to an 800-meter race and let Klecker get the lead. So when you make tactical errors, you can still get beaten, especially if it's a kicker's race. That's how he got beat. I think we all know that, right?
Yeah, I think so. But it's sort of shocking. I think it was a message board thread before the race. Like, how's Grant Fisher going to break the American record when Joe Klecker is going to beat him? And I'm like, what are you guys smoking? I get it. I mean, Dathan Rittenheim on athletics, sort of like the breakthrough thing. And I was going to say U.S. distance running, but they have foreigners on their team, and Ollie Hoare's one of their best guys. But they've done such a good job. But no, Grant Fisher's like a whole nother level. I mean, it's kind of crazy to say that, right? Above Joe Klecker right now. But
Oh, he is.
yes, on the international level, he's a rung above.
Yeah, I mean, look at we knew this after the Olympics last year because Grant Fisher got fourth at the Olympics and Kincaid and Klecker weren't even close to contending in their events. We see it again at the World Championships. It's just there is a gap between Grant Fisher, even though he's only won one of the 4 U.S. titles on offer between 5K and 10K the last 2 years. He's clearly a cut above those two. And there's nothing to be ashamed of for Woody and Joe. I'm sure they're a little disappointed. This was the perfect race to dip under 13 minutes if you're in shape to do so. I know Kincaid's already done it, but like Joe Klecker, if you wanted to break 13, today was the day to do it. And he'll probably view this as a missed opportunity. Maybe he's just not as fit as he was a little earlier in the year. Either way, they're just not quite as good as Grant Fisher right now. Okay, so much else to talk about from this meet, Weldon. Should we go 800 or 1500? I think they were both equally compelling.
Let's go with the 1500.
All right.
Well, both were actually pretty good because I said 15, but let's do it. But this 800, I'm like, oh, Jake Whiteman 800. Who cares? Why do we have to hear this? He's gonna get smoked by these guys, and he didn't. But no, John, screw it. I said 800. I'm talking about it. Let's go there. Men's 800 meters. We have Jake Whiteman, silver at Europeans, but he's never run. What's his PB? 144 something.
144.18 coming in.
And like Europeans, the time wasn't even that fast. That's just a weak field. Who cares if he's second at Europeans in my book?
Oh, wait. Hold on. The winning time was 144.85, which was a personal best by the world indoor champion. I don't know if now Mariano Garcia didn't do very well. He didn't even make the final at Worlds, but I was a high quality. I thought it was a good race. I don't know.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm dismissing it because I never watched it because I saw some of the prelims, but I'm like, Whiteman's not going to win the Europeans. He's a 1500 meter runner. I figured even though the European 800, wasn't that great. Those guys did great at Worlds. I'm like, Whiteman's not going to win. I had the exact same expectation in this race, and boy, did he prove me wrong. I mean, and I was sort of shocked how he did it. This was like a replay of the World Championship 1500 meter final, I felt like.
This is what he likes to do. I talked to his coach and his dad, Jeff Whiteman, after the World Championship final. I said, why'd he go with 200 to go? And he's just like, he's always liked to go with 200 meters to go. And that has very clearly proven to be true this year because he did it at Worlds, he did it at Commonwealths, and he did it again here in Brussels. And I think he wanted to do it in the European Championship final, actually, but he got blocked off. Someone else beat him to the move, Creston from Belgium. So, yeah, Whiteman, it was really impressive, though, because Correa is coming with him. When Whiteman's moving to the front, Correa, who is the world and Olympic champion, is right on his shoulder. And I'm thinking, all right, if they're going to go, I'm going to take the 800 meter, the world and Olympic champion over Whiteman. But Whiteman pulls away to win. But Robert, at the start of the podcast, was acting as if this is some groundbreaking achievement and it should change the way we view Jake Whiteman moving forward and how is Ingebrigtsen ever going to beat him. To me, this result just affirms what we already knew about Jake Whiteman. Jake Whiteman, out of all of the 1500 meter runners in the world, is probably the best at the 800 meters. That's his strength. That's how he was going to beat Jakob, is having the ability to close faster than him. That's his advantage versus Jakob. We already knew that. And yes, it's going to be a challenge for Jakob to figure out how to beat him because Jake has better speed than him. He has a better kick. But I don't know if I needed him run. Like, we already knew that because Jake has run 144.1. And okay, he ran a little faster, but considering he was in 1500 PR shape this year, and it's been the best year of his career, am I shocked he can knock half a second off of his personal best in the 800? Not really. Now, winning the race against all the best 800 guys in the world, that is, maybe that's another level, but it doesn't really change how I think about Jake Whiteman very much, because I already knew he was a very, very elite 800 meter runner.
Elite, John. He never broken 144 before. I think you couldn't have called him elite before this one.
In the year 2022, 144.1 makes you elite. Well, then that's not a lot of guys. It's not a very strong event.
We're cooling, but no, the whole thing about Robert. Oh, look out, Ingebrigtsen. Well, he already beat Ingebrigtsen at Worlds, but I still think Ingebrigtsen's the favorite in any race he runs. I think Ingebrigtsen's figuring out, look, okay, this guy's good. I got to come up with a new way to beat him, but I still expect Ingebrigtsen to beat him. People are talking, do we think Whiteman's going to be a 326 guy? I mean, Ingebrigtsen hasn't done that yet either, but in my rankings, I still rank Ingebrigtsen 1. Not in the 800. He would get beat by Jake Whiteman 800, no doubt about it. But as this guy Funky Jam Dude notes in the comments, he beat the 1, 2, 3 at Worlds. They were all in this race. This was the stacked 800. Because also I'm like, wait, the 800 sort of off this year. And I'm like, why are they leading and ending the meet with the 800? I'm like, the 800 just hasn't been that great. I mean, coming back, defending his Olympic win. But
no, it's been a poor event this year, Weldon. Like, my whole thing heading into the race was, can someone break 143? Because no one's done it this year. No one's even come close to doing it this year. The world leader is 143.52 by Max Bergen from June. That is the slowest world leading time since 2007. It's just not a very good event at the moment. So I thought the opportunity was here, and it turns out, no, a guy who doesn't even run the 800 as his primary event can just drop down and beat everyone who's the best in the world at this event. So I think this kind of, look, it was a great race by Whiteman, but this has been a terrible year for the men's 800.
Sound, John?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Robert?
How do I sound?
You sound very patchy, but I can sort of hear you, and I can finally see you. Sorry for the on-the-fly adjustments here, guys, but hopefully Robert will have this set up in 1 second. Well, anything else? Did we let him weigh in? Oh, he's gone. All right. That was his opportunity to weigh in and defend his take that he hasn't been listening to. Anything else on this 800, or should we move to the women's 15?
Well, I'd like all the audio and technical experts out there to chime in. Supporters Club members are very smart. If you want this as a podcast, you need to join the Supporters Club. Go to letsrun.com/subscribe. You'll get this as a podcast. Otherwise, you got to be listening right now. And we have a second podcast every week. You save 20% of running shoes. It's a great deal. But the inside joke at Let's Run is, like, Robert always has audio and video technical issues. Always. And we've changed to different software behind the scenes. But if the software changes and he still has a problem, how can it be the software's fault? But I'm just asking.
That's all a journalist does. Well, then we ask the important questions. We try to hold people accountable. So I guess we have to demand the same of ourselves. This 1500 was great, though. I was still trying to process what happened in the men's 5,000. You don't normally see it this way, ending with 3 straight distance races in a Diamond League. Normally you have a chance to catch your breath. We didn't this time around. It was just distance, distance, distance. And this was super exciting. Look, if you watch the European Championships, we saw Cara McGeehan put up a very strong fight against Laura Muir. And Laura Muir has run 355 this year. So I was thinking, I'm like, is this just because McGeehan is she good at kicker, or is she actually a lot fitter than 4 flat? Which is her personal best. I was sort of trying to figure out what happened. And tonight we saw, no, actually McGeehan was in 356 shape. And going in, like, it's interesting. Halfway through this race, I thought it was going to be Deriba Welteje of Ethiopia just running away from everyone because she is only 20 years old. She ran the 800 at the World Championships. She got fourth, ran 157.0, but she's run 356 this year. She beat the silver medalist at Worlds, Gudaf Sagai, at the Silesia Diamond League earlier this year. I was thinking, okay, she could actually just run away from this thing and break a really good field. But no, they start crawling, they start clawing back. And the woman who actually finally ends up bridging the gap is Ciara McGeehan from Ireland. And I'm like, this is not, like, I thought it was going to be Laura Muir. We thought it might be for Wayne Hailu in here, who's run 356 as well. No, it was McGeehan, and she looked incredibly strong. Muir makes this late charge. I think she might have gotten her timing wrong. I don't know, when she was closing with 100 to go, she went from about fourth to second, almost gets there, but it's McGeehan who holds on for the win, turns the tables from Munich in the 1500 final. And talk about breakthroughs. I mean, 30 years old, her PB coming into this year, 4 flat 0.15 from the 2019 World Championship finals. Last year, she goes to the Olympics. She doesn't get out of the first round. And now in 2022, she's been running out of her mind. Silver at the Commonwealths, silver at Europeans, both times behind Laura Muir. And now she gets a 4-second PB at the age of 30. How many 30-year-old elite 1500 runners run a 4-second personal best? I can't remember the last time that happens. She gets a Diamond League win. Ireland will be going crazy tonight.
Yeah, how many? None, John. I mean, when I looked up she was 30, I was shocked. I just was like, where did this come from? This is like the run of her life. Where your dreams become... There's two things this is, John. Right? Where your dreams become reality or doping. I mean, like, that's where I go. I'm like, wow, this is what you dream of, or that she's dirty. I mean, that's the type of performance this is. It's sad that's how the sport is, but I had a big breakthrough when I was a runner. People were like, you must be doping. And I'm like, holy shit, people think I'm doping. This is great. So that's the ultimate compliment. I mean, well, not all of us anymore. I was going to say all of us have to piss on a cup to notice, but everyone at her level has to go pee in a cup with someone staring at them watching at notice, because the suspicion is anyone could be doping. And that run was so unbelievably good. You're like, wow, is this girl doping? Like, I mean, it was crazy. I don't think she is. Well, I have no reason to believe she is. So that's what I do in the sport. I celebrate this. It was amazing.
It was. I mean, it's one of the great stories is when you get an athlete making a huge breakthrough late in the career. Well, like you said, it's one of the great stories, or it's one of the worst stories. But you could tell how much this meant to her. She was on the ground and just took a moment to collect herself, and then she's just screaming with joy. Laura Muir, who she's raced against a bunch throughout her career, they embraced afterwards. It was really wonderful to see the finish of that. And behind them, some solid runs by Heather McLean and Elise Cranny once again. We saw them both run under 4 minutes in Monaco, and they do the same thing here. Heather McLean PRs again. I think that's her third one since failing to make the U.S. team. She PR'd in Silesia. She PR'd in Monaco, and then 358.76 here for fifth place. Cranny breaks 4 minutes again, 359.61. We did wonder what would happen if Heather McLean ran a little bit more aggressively, which was a question you posed when we were previewing this meet earlier this week, Weldon. She didn't really do that. She kind of did the same thing and hung back. But, I mean, look, she ran a personal best of 358. She finished fifth. I'm not going to criticize her for that. But I still am going to be interested to see if she tries to go out. She'll be running the Diamond League final. I guess Kip Egon will probably be in that, so maybe it'll be a totally different race. But I would have been interested to see what happened if she was sort of right with the front women a little more.
Yeah, but I would like to compare this last lap versus Monaco, because in Monaco she finished second. She went from 11th to second. And so you're like, wow, what could Heather McLean do? Like you said, staying up there. And I bet you she probably just closed a little slower here. I am kind of assuming that what has happened, because she was a little bit closer, but who knows? I mean, that Monaco race was so weird because Kipyegon was so far out in front, and everyone else was like 50 meters behind. But I mean, a PB, you can't complain. It's September 2nd. You're running PBs in Europe. It's a good season, but wow, I mean, 3:56.63 PB for the win, national record at age 30. That's how you want to do it. So if you're just joining us, Grant Fisher's American record has been invalidated because he did not win the race, but McGeehan's record here counts. It's a big takeaway from Brussels.
Yeah. There was another distance race, the women's steeplechase. I don't think we have to spend that much time on it. I guess the one thing, so the storyline here is that Jacqueline Chepkoech, the 18-year-old who was the world junior champion last year, the Commonwealth champion this year, she's emerging as a major force in this event. For some reason, they build this as a world record attempt for Workua Gedichor. I don't know. I mean, she's run 8:54, which is okay. That's 10 seconds off the world record. But if she thinks she's really fit and ready to go for it, all right, I can see someone taking a stab at it. Instead, the race goes out in 3 flat. Well, that's 9 flat pace. So already the record's basically gone. Then it slows 3:04 for the next kilometer. So I'm just like, why even bother hyping this up as a world record attempt? Like, what's the point if you're not going to try to go for it at all? So anyway, that's sort of how it plays out. And then you get down to Jacqueline Chepkoech, not the world record holder, Beatrice. But Chepkoech kind of opens up a gap with about 2 laps to go, and it's game over from there. Gedichor can never close it down, and it's 9:02 is the winning time. That's a 7-second PB. Chepkoech, she's been having a breakout campaign at the age of 18. She didn't even make the World Championship final, but since then, she's gone to Monaco and run a PB of 9:15. She's gone to the Commonwealth Games and won. Then last week, she goes to Commonwealth, wins. Then Monaco, she PBs 9:15 down to 9:09, and now she's 9:09 down to 9:02, and she's still only 18 years old. So she's going to be very dangerous in this event moving forward.
I'm back, guys. My beautiful face. I'd like to apologize for all the cussing that I did to you and Jonathan. Jonathan and Weldon off air. I blamed Weldon. And when in reality, there was a privacy switch on my camera that had been pushed. Perhaps by my child. Perhaps by me, actually. Probably by me.
Well, we can see your beautiful face, but your audio is far from beautiful, Robert. It's very patchy. So perhaps that's the next thing you can solve on this podcast. But it's good to see you again.
Well, unplug the mic and undo echo cancellation. But he does look pretty, John.
Yeah, nice haircut. He's got the Let's Run Kipchoge Go t-shirt. Anything on this steeple, Weldon, or should we move on? I guess the other thing to note is the Americans, not a great showing by them. Emma Coburn, 8th and 9:14. That's a step back after she ran 9:07 in Monaco. Courtney Frerichs takes a step forward from Monaco. The problem is she ran 9:32 in Monaco. So she still only ran 9:20 here, finished 10th. Not particularly great run from either of them.
Is this any better now, John?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if this had been a normal Diamond League, or not normal one, Diamond League's been great this year. But if nothing had happened in this race, I would have spent a lot of time analyzing what does this mean for Coburn. I never even saw her on the screen. Is she done? She said this was her best year of training. The results haven't indicated that. But this 18-year-old rising to the top was good. This was yet another African runner I was rooting for. When I got a battle of XY versus XX in the women's events, I generally vote for, I forgot which one, how the chromosomes work. But
wait, do you have a Y chromosome right now, Robert? Yes or no?
I think I have a Y.
I'm fairly confident you do.
Yeah. And I vote for XX. But it's just incredible. I was like, who is this? She doesn't make the world final, world junior champ, 902. So let's hope that she can get up there. Another thing. But last time when I was briefly on, he said I didn't sound well. I heard you, John, despair. You do this a lot. You just take pot shots at people. and you reveal your hidden biases, and it's generally for. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's generally for pale European white men like yourself, British men like yourself. You were saying, Jake Whiteman can just drop down into another event and spank the world champion as a part-time runner. But I didn't hear you saying that. Doesn't Jakob Ingebrigtsen do the same thing? He just occasionally runs up to the 5,000, wins the world title. Does that
You
mean
were in
that,
Eugene, right? You interviewed him after the race. We asked him, "You think you're more of a 5,000 or 1,500?" He said, "No, the 5,000 has always been my best event."
okay, then why doesn't he race it today?
Because he's making his half marathon debut on Sunday, Robert.
Oh my God, have you all gotten into that?
We haven't discussed it yet. If you want to say a few words.
I'm so excited. I mean, it's a man crush for me and Ingebrigtsen, but there's a message board thread saying Ingebrigtsen's going to make his half marathon debut this weekend. And people are asking why he's in the 5,000 today. And someone points to this thing, and now they say all the Ingebrigtsens are running it. There's some speculation he's just pacing his brothers. I mean, he does have the Diamond League final on which day, John? Thursday?
Yes, Thursday.
So to run a half marathon all out on Sunday would be kind of be pushing it for a Diamond League final. Now, we've heard about these crazy lactate levels. Like, if he went all out in this, I don't know, man. Nothing would shock me. Nothing would shock me.
Well, wait. So you think I could see 58 something? I think a 57 something would shock me, but 58
should
would
shock
not.
me. But then I would just bow down to him.
Yeah, he's an aerobic beast.
But to get the accolades, like Mo Farah had incredible range, 328 in the 1,500, right?
Yep.
205
in the marathon.
205 marathon. But he never ran a world championship in the 1,500. Ingebrigtsen's already won one in the 1,500. If he could win one in the 10,000, that would be sick. And if he's running 57 or 58 for the half, I think that means he can run a 205 marathon. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So I don't know what events y'all have talked about. Anything else we need to?
Yeah, I mean, instead of talking about Brussels, let's talk about Jakob Ingebrigtsen's marathon potential. I think that's still what distance runners do, right? Oh, if they moved up in distance, that's all anyone talks about. And now in the sprints, it sounds like, with Fred Curley and stuff, it's like, oh, if they move down in distance, how good would they be?
Well, this is a problem. The problem with Jakob is he runs so many events that we're going to run out of hypotheticals for him. That's the lifeblood of Let's Run, is telling athletes to move into certain events and then seeing, it's never going to happen. Jakob's going to get the proof and answer all of the questions. We're not going to be able to speculate with him anymore because he's going to do all these crazy doubles and triples. He's going to run every event under the sun. But that's a good problem to have. All right. That's the distance action. We did talk about the 800 and the 1,500, Robert, while you were away. So if you had any sort of parting thoughts on those, you can give them. Otherwise, there was some pretty great stuff in the sprints and field here. That upset in the 100. We had Cara Winger winning the javelin. An American has never done that. Well, not for 12 years since Cara Winger won it back in 2010. And we had Mondo losing in the pole vault. So, Robert, what speaks to you? I know you've been bursting to unload some takes.
I was kind of wondering one comment about that women's 1,500. Like, at one point, when they hit 254 at the bell and Cranny was right there, I did think, like, what's the American record? Could they possibly close in, 60? I guess the answer for her was most definitely not. She ran 65. But good to see her put it out there. The Cara Winger thing was pretty cool, I thought. Isn't she retiring? Should she reconsider that?
I think it's worth reconsidering. I mean, there's not a lot of money in the women's javelin, but you get $8,000 for winning a Diamond League. And right now she's in the form of her life, and she just threw a world leader, American record, 68.11 meters. Her previous PB was from 2010. Now she's 36 years old. She's had, I think, double ACL replacement. It's pretty crazy that she's now in the best form of her life. And this was her final attempt of the night. She hadn't thrown farther than, well, she threw 63.82, which would have still won the competition. But it's pretty nuts that she went 12 years between personal bests. And now she's the best. Well, that was the best thrower in the world. She wasn't the world champion. But yeah, if I were her, I would reconsider it. I mean, maybe her body's got to feel good enough if she's throwing this far, right?
I mean, Jeff, this was a huge PB, like 1.5 meters, 5 feet essentially, and way further than she threw at Worlds to get the medal. Yeah, it's crazy. But as you said, there's no money in the javelin. Maybe now some people will sponsor. I mean, let's run. Maybe we should compete with Tracksmith with it. Are they actually paying her money, or they just give you free gear? I hope to God they got an American record bonus or something. But I think part of the beauty of the Tracksmith program was like, hey, if you don't have gear, we'll just give you free gear. But maybe for someone of her caliber, they're helping pay some bills. But if not, it's like either way, it's like really great marketing. Yeah. But hey, let's run sing. But we should. If there's no American record bounty, we'll put one out there. Then everyone will wear the Let's Run T-shirt instead, John. Because I mean, look what she's wearing. People here who can see the video. She could easily wear a T-shirt. I think. Come on.
Yeah, the sad thing is they would, even though they've got a huge Tracksmith sash, which by the way is copied off the Cornell University's track and field sash, but that's a huge logo to me as their sash. They would probably say that the Let's Run logo on the T-shirt is too big. But yes, we should have people competing in the Diamond Leagues in the blue Let's Run T-shirt. If you want your T-shirts, go to shop.letsrun.com. But I'm assuming you guys talked about the poor performances by Woody Kincaid and Joe Klecker in the men's 5,000. There also was one in the women's 1,500, and I hate to say it. I've said on this podcast recently that I felt like Sinclair Johnson benefited greatly early in the year from Jerry Schumacher's strength training. He put her in a speed-based system. It's going to work for a short period of time. Let's see what happens next year. 4:10 today. So don't want to say I told you so. It's early. It's a long season, but not a good look.
No, I mean she hasn't been good in the 1,500 since Worlds. And maybe you just say, oh, she timed it very well because she ran well at Worlds. She was 6th. She won the U.S. title in dominant fashion. Or, Robert, there might be something to this theory that, yeah, she gets the short-term bump from switching from the strength-based system of Jerry Schumacher to the speed-based system, more individualized system of Pete Julian. And, all right, she also ran a PB in the 800 a week ago. So right now she's better in the 800 than the 1,500, I would say. Well, maybe that's not totally true, but it's not like she's totally fried. She's still running personal bests at this point in the season. But I am going to be interested to see how next year goes because that will be a full off season of base work under Pete's system. Does she come out and kick ass like she did early this year, or is this the new normal for her? I think it's more likely to be the former, that she's still going to be the woman to beat. But I'll be curious to monitor.
I think we have to talk about the women's 100 meters. Coming in, maybe not for distance people, but that was the race of the meet for sure in my book. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price versus the American, I guess she is an American champion in the past, but American.
Not officially.
No, never mind. Fine, American social media sensation. So we're calling Sha'Carri Richardson now. Very good runner. And Sha'Carri did beat the Olympic champion Elaine Thompson-Herah in Lausanne, very slow time. But as you guys pointed out, Lausanne times are slow across the board. She beat some pretty good people there. So I'm like, could she conceivably challenge Shelly-Ann? And coming in, Shelly-Ann, who skipped, I said Lausanne. That race was in Lucerne. Shelly-Ann was supposed to race in Lausanne last week, skipped that. Said, look, I'm not 100%, but I'm ready to run. And I figured, okay, a little bit off her game. Maybe she can get beat. And she did get beat. But it wasn't by Sha'Carri Richardson. It was by, here's the finish right there, Shericka Jackson, the former 400-meter runner who's now a 100-meter sensation, 200-meter star. But this one was super close. And Sha'Carri back in 5th place.
Yeah, it was a good race, and I'm saying race between the top 3 because this was really 2 races. There was the race for the win between Shericka Jackson, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, Marie-Jose Talu, and then there were the Americans, Aaliyah Hobbs, who was 4th in 10.91, Sha'Carri Richardson, 5th, 10.93, Tamara Clark, 6th in 11.03. They were never close to contending with the top women, which, look, we knew that. The Jamaicans have been on a different level this year. Surprised to see Shelly-Ann beaten because, yeah, if she starts, I'm going to predict her to win, and I'm going to predict her to run 10.6. And it's also crazy. This is how good the 100 is these days, that Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price runs 10.74, which any year before last year in her career would have been one of her fastest times ever. And now it's just kind of viewed as, oh yeah, she was kind of off her game. She wasn't able to close it out because she got out ahead of Jackson, and Jackson ran her down. But my guess is her hamstring might still not be right because that's why she pulled out of Lausanne, and she thought it was maybe good enough to win, and it almost was. But Jackson, you got to give Jackson credit for showing up and getting it done. And look, that's not a 10.93. That's fine for Sha'Carri. Aaliyah Hobbs is better than her right now. That's okay to accept. Hobbs beat her in New York before USA's. But I think it's good for Sha'Carri to at least go over, get a European experience, and also get a reminder, hey, there's still quite a big gap between me and the Jamaicans.
I was pretty much into this, and right before the start, I was thinking, what's going to happen? What I really think is going to happen. Will Shelly win? Could somehow Sha'Carri win? I mean, no, Sha'Carri's not going to win. But it is amazing, John, how SAFP, how good she is. I mean, a bad race for her now is 10.74. And, you know, here's her seasonal best. She won the Olympics in 2008 and 2012. So
yeah.
Starting in 2008, here's her seasonal best, 10.78. Today she ran 10.74. 2009, 10.73. 2011, 10.95. 2012, 10.70. That was actually a national record. Then 10.71, 11.01, 10.74, 2015. Even 2019, 10.86, 10.98. Then 10.71, 2019. But she's never broken 10.7 until last year, 10.60. This year she hasn't broken that. She's run 10.62, but she's run in the 10.6s 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, including her last 4 races before this one. You know, it's kind of a shame she didn't win this race because she could have had the undefeated season. It was clear Mondo wanted that undefeated season, because Mondo can keep stacking them. You know, if he has this undefeated and get an incredible win streak, like an Edwin Moses type win streak, he's got to start that over. But Shelly-Ann probably can't keep that up because she's a little bit older. But this, I think, needs to go down as the greatest women's 100-meter season ever, and to have the undefeated streak would be cooler. You could write the great essay, John, get her on an interview. Now it's going to be a little bit more nuanced if she did lose a race, but it's because she's coming back from an injury, you know, just from a few days ago. And her quote after the race was interesting. I feel okay about today's race. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I felt good. I do not have any injuries, so that is the most important part. Then listen to this next part. I'm not sure about Zurich. I will have to wait and listen to my body. But today was really amazing. I love running at Brussels. So I think we will see her in Zurich, because if she's running these races for the, you know, I'm assuming she's getting paid, and she was pretty healthy and just missed it today. I mean, she had the lead until the last, 10 meters, got run down.
Right. But Robert, the reason why I was excited for this showdown is because she's only run the Diamond League final once since 2015. So Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price doesn't often run it. Now, I would think, given how much she's been racing, it would make sense for her to run it this year, but I don't think it's guaranteed that we see her next week in Zurich.
Well, maybe she wants an appearance fee on top of that $30,000 first prize. She kind of deserves it.
In the pre-race press conference, she's like a 5-year-old kid. I mean, we all we hear about is Allison Felix's kid. We don't hear about her kid. I think she's saying, like, school starts. So I got the impression she was going back to Jamaica. Now, maybe she'd go back and fly back, or maybe if, like, I don't know how much, $100,000 comes her way, she delays her trip. So I don't know if that was a negotiating tactic, but she's not. There's more than one sprinting mom out there. And this one is still generally the top of the game.
Yeah, should we talk about Mondo real quick?
Mondo, I can't believe we've gone almost 55 minutes and we haven't even mentioned the first Diamond League victory for the guy who could be the Usain Bolt of the sport. In the men's 200, wasn't the greatest field, but he's 18, right? 18 years old here in Knighton. His first Diamond League victory, 20.07. Time may not impress you, but hey, he was running into a negative 2.9 wind. He won by more than a tenth of a second. I just think it's impressive. He's still running pretty well this late in the season. I mean, Fambula is in this race and runs 20.60. So congrats to him, the first of many. Now, two things. One, he's not the young. I know for a fact he's not the youngest Diamond League winner. The Ukrainian high jumper won in 2019 at the age of 17 in Doha in the high jump. But on the men's side, John, I'm assuming he is the youngest. But do we have that confirmed?
I haven't been able to look up the ages of every Diamond League winner before. You don't think that there's been a 17 or 18-year-old Kenyan or Ethiopian who's won a distance event at some point, Robert? I would kind of lean towards thinking yes. And I know sometimes those ages are you're not certain, but my guess is at some point one of them has won a Diamond League.
And also, I feel like if he was the youngest, we would have heard it during the broadcast. Not that the broadcast is perfect, but something like that, I feel like usually is at their disposal. Mondo, John, what we lost? He was shocked. He was well over the bar, I think, on all three attempts. He just came down too soon. That's the extent of my pole vault knowledge, terminology there. He didn't.
Just wanted to acknowledge that he got beaten, and it was a big surprise. You don't ever see that with Mondo. It's just a reminder that he's human. He's brilliant. He's the greatest pole vaulter we've ever seen, but even the greatest pole vaulter we've ever seen has a bad day at the office every once in a while. The Knighton thing, Robert, I was really impressed by that because not just that he won, because like you said, the field wasn't all that special, but how fast he ran. 20.07 into a 2.9, that's a huge headwind. So that's a very good time, especially because he ran 20.13 with a plus 1.3 tailwind last week in Lausanne. After that race in Lausanne, he was sixth. I was just like, all right, dude's cooked, needs to go back home, Like, there's no point in extending the season. He's gone all the way through the end of August. He had a medal at Worlds. You don't need to keep sticking it out, dude. Showed I was totally wrong. He shows up in Brussels. Yeah, great for him to get the win. Maybe we'll see him in Zurich next week as well. I was definitely impressed by how he looked out there.
The guy who's cooked is Fambula. I mean, Fambula was sixth here in 20.60. So I'm really glad to see Knighton running in Europe. I think, one, he's a professional, so that's what you should do. What else are you going to do? I think he's going to start school, but not this fall, maybe in January. And get used to competing in September because that's what you do in this sport. Well, it's about what half the stars do in the sport. It appears, but that's a different issue. Guys, we're 59 minutes in. I was hoping to do an hour show.
Wait.
I don't know if we can cram it into the final minute, but John, we still don't know. Do we know or not? There was one distance race we have not spoken about.
Well, I know. We're going to get to that, but before we do, a few things. One, Mondo did lose once last year, so the win streak wasn't that long. Gateshead, he lost. But you asked about the 16 or 17-year-old records, John. I don't know if a Kenyan has won at that age, but according to the Guinness Book of World Records, they have a stat on their website. The youngest person to score points in a Diamond League athletics meeting is Jacob Caplemo, who finished 7th in the men's 3,000 in Doha on May 5th of 2017 at age 16 and 170. days.
Cool. Thanks for that stat, Robert. Glad you. Yeah, we snuck that in there. All right. The 1 hour run world record.
No,
Well,
the
maybe
stats
it
we need to
wasn't
have
world
now, though, is
We don't know.
before the TV window starts, there was a 1 hour world record attempt, and this is Josh Hermans is the big agent in Belgium. He used to have the world record. He loves this event. Mo Farah broke it a few years ago, and I see John writing the recap that the world record had fallen. It was a great recap. It says that the person who got the record was named Kenyan Sebastian Kamaru Saleh.
Yeah.
He's like in his mid-20s, and he's just come onto the scene this year, and he's been rocking it, running a 58:02 and this and that, and really good. And like, is this guy going to be like a half marathon star? But apparently, since then, we're not sure if they've broken the record or what's going on, John. Are they not how far this guy ran?
I still haven't gotten a firm answer here, Robert, because after the race, I sent out some text to people. I didn't get an answer about what happened. I saw Athletics Weekly had a tweet out saying he broke the record. That tweet now appears to have been deleted. So, there was some people on Twitter saying that he had a time of a distance of 21,450 meters in 1 hour. And I was like, all right, I'm waiting. I looked on the official results. They had no distance next to his name. So I was just like, okay, he got the record. He gave quotes. He gave an interview afterwards as if he had broken the record. He said, I don't know how many records I ran tonight, but I came here for just one, the 1 hour record. That was the goal, and we did it. So it's pretty unambiguous that he believes he broke the 1 hour run world record. But the results simply say 21,250 meters, while the record is 21,330 by Mo Farah. So obviously that number is smaller than that. That says he didn't get it. I haven't seen anything on Twitter officially saying this guy broke the record. So my assumption at this point is to trust the results, and maybe they told him the wrong thing. But actually, no, I don't know who to trust, because he's saying he broke the record. There are people on Twitter saying he broke it. The results say he didn't get it. It wasn't in the TV window. It kind of just shows how much of a joke the sport is at times, because we've got a guy going for a world record held by Mo Farah. It's at a meet that's being broadcast internationally around the world, and there doesn't seem to be a single person willing to actually go on record and say whether this thing happened. Well, not blaming some of the people I reached out to don't work at the meet.
Well, who said he broke the record in the first place?
Athletics Weekly had a tweet saying he broke the record.
Okay. Give me the three numbers. I'm going to think about this logically.
No, we're not doing the math. We don't need to do the math on the air.
Please give me the three number values, John.
This is not very compelling radio, Robert, but 21,250 is the time he is listed next to his name in the results. The record is 21,330. The time that people gave him on Twitter was 450.
Right. It's hard to tell.
Time, you mean distance.
If we're smart, we could figure this out with the splits. They have 2,000 meter splits on the website. Someone on Let's Run will figure this out. My big takeaway for this is, like, with no one at the meet, it's not that hard to actually tell how far someone's run if you're actually at the meet. It's kind of a bad look. I'm thinking he didn't break it but they have a flash quote with him saying he did break it. So I don't know. Maybe it just shows how minor our sport is, that here we are, the so-called or self-proclaimed top distance running website.
But guys,
we barely knew this race was happening, and we just don't know the record broke.
I didn't even know it was
6 hours
happening.
later.
But it shouldn't be that hard. 21,250 meters. So you run 50 laps, that's 20,000. And then you do 3 more, that's 21,200. And so he either ran 50 meters past the finish line, 130 meters past the finish line, or 250 meters past the finish line. Like, you should see, where was he when the thing finished? It shouldn't be that hard. If anyone was paying attention, it would be pretty easy to figure out where he was. So This reminds me though of like, why have these races if people aren't even going to be paying attention to it?
Yeah, I mean,
Clear-
like with
clear
literally in today's
solution.
age with Twitter and all this stuff, was nobody there. I mean, that thing I don't get. Like, all it would take is one Let's Run person to be there.
Clear solution. You got to fly me to Brussels next year for the Diamond League. That's really the only way we solve this problem. All right. Any other final thoughts on a terrific afternoon of track and field, or are we good? We still got some recaps to write for our adoring public. And I think that's going to be it. Robert Weldon, anything else you want to say about Brussels?
I mean, just it was a great meet, John, and I was really excited to see Grant Fisher get the American record. He's had a tremendous season, missed out of World Championships. He's not going to make up for missing that medal in the 5K tripping on the rail, whatever happened. I think that was his chance. But, I mean, can you be disappointed with this season now? And now he's got in the 1240s and didn't get much faster than that. So you got to start thinking, hey, we've got a guy on the men's side. He can compete in anything out there. You know, he's the new Galen Rupp. We need that in American distance running. So really good for me to see.
Well, I'm glad that you've given him the record, Weldon, and you've waived the rule that he had to win the race for it to be an American record. Because the previous record, Legat didn't win that race. I mean, how many American records are actually set in races where they win the race? I don't think it's all that.
We should go back. When was the last time the 5K record was broken with the guy winning the race outdoors?
Because before Legat, it was Legat in Oslo. I don't think he won that race. And before Legat in Oslo, it was Ritz in Zurich. He didn't win that race. Bob Kennedy didn't win the race where he ran 12:58, did he?
It's going to be like some guy in 1952 or some crap like that.
Yeah, but this was so much more impressive because he was up front the whole time. Like Ritzenheim, that 12:56 was exciting because he got close to like third or fourth in, but he was off the screen. Because back then they didn't run even. The pacing lights certainly help now. Back then they used to go out in 12:30 something pace and then die and then pick it up and whatnot. All right, everybody, be on the lookout for have a good weekend. 3-day weekend, everybody. Labor Day, enjoy it.
And then Tuesday night,
Clayton, we love you.
Tuesday night, we got to hype this up. Frank Shorter is going to be joining Let'sRun.com for a live interview, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you have questions that you want us to ask him, you can email us, jonathangolt@letsrun.com. We'll have a message board thread probably promoting it as well. Everyone tune in. You should be able to ask him some questions through the chat while we talk to him. But make sure, Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m., cancel your plans because we've got Frank Shorter on Let's Run Track Talk podcast.
1 second, John. People are saying Prefontaine set the American record, running 13:22.2 at the 72 trial. Last time somebody might have
A mere
won the
50
race.
years ago.
All right. Good night, everybody.